Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Success Insight podcast. Our guest today is Patricia Love. The series we have worked on with Patricia has really been to introduce our listeners to Patricia's new book and the concepts within it, Seen and Unheard, A Little Girl's Journey from Silence to Empowerment. In Seen and Unheard, Patricia courageously shares how she successfully navigated a life of mental abandonment, abuse, and trauma, and ultimately found her power and worth within in order to create a new story. And we really, I think, have done a pretty nice job with Patricia's guidance to help our listeners and hopefully future readers of Seen and Unheard to go on a journey of empowerment. And so, Patricia, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Success Inside podcast, and we are pleased that you've joined us on this journey and really had confidence in us to help really take our listeners through some very important lessons and really to take charge of your life and to become empowered, especially for those young girls and women who are struggling still today out in wherever they are and whatever they're doing. So thank you again for joining us.
Once again, I'm honored to be here, Howard, and it's my pleasure. I wanted to let other women and young girls know that they're not alone out there, that their voice does need to be heard. And because it's very prevalent out there that there's a lot of women that they feel like they just have so much going on, they're overwhelmed, and yet a lot of these things can be changed if they're willing to take the time and change it. But a lot of these things were maybe started when they were just a child. It's a journey that I went on, and I hope that some of the people and the women and whoever might be reading it will look at it as a reflection too.
It makes all the difference in the world.
Yes.
We reach a time in our lives, and I think for both men and women, is like, what am I doing? Why am I continuing to repeat these patterns over and over and over again? I need to do something about it. And in our last episode, we really dove into that is, at some point, we've got to say enough is enough.
Exactly. Now, there's a lot of people that never will. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we're going to be really honest about it, and
you can't help everybody.
You can't help everybody. And that's fine. But they're the people out there that do say to themselves in the dead of night, like, why? Why do I keep doing this? Is there another way? And yes, there is another way. I am the perfect playback of this journey that you can change, and you can change at any time. I changed my journey at 56 years of age. A lot of people say there was no way you get to a certain point, you can't change. Not true.
No.
You can change and grow at any moment. Some people might change it at 30 or 40, it doesn't matter. And there really should be no age number even involved. It's just a matter that, you know what, I'm sick, I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over and over, getting the same results. And so can I look at to change this? And how do I keep doing it? And once I figure it out, because, we're talking about perseverance, right?
Right.
A lot of people get to let's just take dieting, or not dieting, but losing weight. That's always a good one because people can relate to it a little bit more. But, they say, okay, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. And then they do all this and they work and they lose that 5 or 6 pounds. And then they start to fall off the wagon, and they just they go eat some more, and they just can't keep going. So then they go back and they gain another 10 pounds. So a lot of people can kind of understand that. How do I keep going if I really want to make and reach my goals? And it's not easy. But it definitely can be done if you just make the decision, first off, to do that. And I call that persevering with passion. And because you have to have a passion about what you want to do to keep going.
I agree with the sentiment. And I would also add, from my perspective, we also have to have a growing sense of personal power. And throughout your book, part of this journey for young girls and women is to really discover their own personal power. And from that perseverance becomes a resilience. And it's like, I can do this.
Yes. I mean, it really is all about igniting your power from within. It's the power that we've always had, the power of empowerment, you might say, that we have the choice, that we can do anything we decide to do. And that's why I call it igniting your power, because when you ignite it, you just got to keep adding the wood to it, or adding the gas, or whatever you might do to just keep igniting it. So it's that passion that keeps that ignited and keeps that going. I make that as an overview because everybody has a passion to do something. And sometimes it's weight loss, sometimes it's changing your behaviors. Some of it maybe my relationships are constantly failing. What's going on? How can I change that? My career, it's not going anywhere. So everybody has their own reasons. That's something, an area you find out where is their power that they're really looking for. But it's so interesting is once you ignite this power, you actually see where it fulfills and empowers all areas of your life. So it starts in one area and then ignites like crazy, and everything gets bigger and better. Persevering is one of those things that is not the easiest, but I will say, and we actually chatted about this, I'm not sure which episode it was, but finding out your why, always understanding the reason that you're doing whatever you're doing to get to your goal, whether that's weight loss, whether that's relationships, whether it's careers, help you persevere. You have to have a point that says, I do not ever want to go back and feel this way, and create that feeling, because that's what ignites your power, is the feel good. Like, I love how I'm feeling now. I want to keep moving forward. And if I keep doing this, I will. And then remind yourself of why. I don't want to be back on that floor, having too many drinks in hand, right? And no money coming in. Somebody else might say, I don't want to be 300 pounds anymore. I don't want to. I never want to go back there. Or I've been working at a particular place that maybe they're not satisfied at. I remember a long time ago, I always said to myself, I never want to go back to selling roach coaches.
Yeah.
You remember those? This is way back in the day. Actually, they're gorgeous. They're food trucks, right? So it's the new version. But for me, growing up, it was a completely different story. Now you want to go to these and you want to own one of those. But the whole point being is there's a power that says, I don't want to go back there. But you have to remember that, because what happens is we forget. Like, for instance, say you lost the 10 pounds or you got what you wanted. And then you kind of slowly, you just kind of loosen your strings, and you don't have that that power, that you're not igniting it anymore. You're not doing it. And then you kind of fall back, and the next thing you know, you maybe gained 5 pounds, or maybe you didn't do that job as well as you should have or could have done it. So you always got to remember, and I'd write this down as your why. Mm-hmm. I write mine down to carry it around with me. To persevere, you got to have a strong, strong why. And it will, I tell you, it will keep you going if you remember that.
I love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Patricia, we have really unpacked your journey, and I acknowledge your willingness to do this, both on the podcast and, of course, in your book, Seen and Unheard. What other lessons, final thoughts would you like to leave our community?
Well, there's a couple things I like to say. Actually, my goal for the reader really is to build a home and atmosphere that a young person could flourish from. Home actually is where the heart is. And you want to stimulate not only the heart, but you want to stimulate the mind. So, because that's where the confidence is built. It's a foundation of confidence that's built. And if you remember that as an adult, and if you have children, and just building that, surrounding them with that inspiration, it's going to make the obstacles in life that they get thrown at a lot easier. And this is what I talk about in the book. If I had had that foundation, and have had those inspirations and those things, then the negative behaviors that I started to do, and like drinking and drugs and all these different things, and really putting myself in very negative and bad situations, if I had been inspired and encouraged from the beginning, it would have probably not turned out exactly the same way. Now, would I have had obstacles? Absolutely. Life will constantly throw you obstacles. But as you grow up and you mature, that's when we have choices to change those behaviors. As a child, you learn what you live. But as an adult, and you grow up, which is what I decided to do, is at some point was I needed to change those behaviors if I was going to move forward. I couldn't be blaming anybody else. I couldn't be playing the victim. I had to move forward and do this. So as an adult, we have choices, and as children, we really don't. So I encourage any household, whether it's one person or 5 people or 20 people living this, is in whether it's a marriage or whatever, just significant others, is to give a loving, inspiring, encouraging foundation for kids that they can flourish and grow and be the best they possibly can be. And then as they grow to as adults, they can then choose to change any other behaviors that they may do. Because again, obstacles will be in our way no matter what. Life just throws stuff at us. But if we have that foundation, it's easier to navigate.
Most definitely. And, all homes have challenges, but if we can create that nurturing, supportive environment, then those kids will take that with them as they get older, not only to help themselves, but also to help others, as well as to have a nurturing, empowering environment when they're parents as well someday in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't want any, adults to feel like, oh my God, I didn't do this. You can change your behaviors at any time also.
Right.
This is the beauty of this. And for everybody that reads the book, what I really want people to do is really reflect on their own stories and maybe see themselves, okay, where could I do better with even my children? Or where could I do better with myself? So it's really a reflection of life. And I'm sure that a lot of the readers will find similar stories in them when they read my book, Seen and Unheard. That's my goal anyway, is to help people reflect and move forward and grow and be the best they can possibly be, because we can choose to change like I did.
Fantastic. And on that note, Patricia, it's been a pleasure to have you again on the Success Insight podcast and really joining us on this journey. We've done 9 episodes to kind of unpack Seen and Unheard and really create some wonderful, actionable steps that young girls, women can take to really change and empower their lives. I think you did a fantastic job. I hope our listeners truly appreciate the journey that you've been on and the great insights that you've shared with us. So thank you once again.
Well, thanks, Howard. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic. Now, before we leave, just one final reminder for our listeners, if they'd like to learn more about you and your work, where are the best places for them to go?
Best places are to go to patricialove.com. You can certainly contact me there. Also, you can email me through the contact menu. Also on Facebook, Patricia Love, the Rah-Rah Coach. And on Instagram, Coach Patricia Love. And please, I welcome any comments and love to have you buy the book, Seen and Unheard.
Fantastic. Well, we certainly do hope our listeners will want to pick up a copy of Seen and Unheard. All right, folks, we've just been chatting with Patricia Love. And again, this is episode 9 with Patricia, and we're really been very fortunate to have her on the Success Insight. Over these past episodes, she has shared lots of her, she calls them deepest secrets or pitfalls, triumphs along the way in hopes of inspiring her readers, young girls, women, to choose themselves and realize that they too can have it all in today's really complex environment. And today's episode brought everything to closure, but for the most part is really inspiring women, young girls to persevere with passion. Do let us know what you think on our website, successinsightpodcast.com, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn, our Success Insight Podcast pages. And you can also listen to the episode on the major podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. Take care of yourselves, your family. Practice social distancing, wear your mask, and we will see you on another episode of the Success Insight Podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.